All right. Hey, Miss Walton. Here's the response to the homework. My first example of the qualities being used badly is in a travel blog I have to China. I have it here with me. And so the first part is subjects. I'm gonna focus on one that kind of talks about a specific city, and the subject kind of like breaks it down really slowly. It doesn't really describe too much because it's supposed to like give you like a cursory explanation of what this town is famous for and what to look for in like a small space as possible. So they just barely say anything. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of like in Shenzhen, you can. It's famous for its seafood, and then that's all it says, and then you just move on. For leaps, it doesn't really have any leaps because it's trying to give you a full idea of something, so it doesn't really leave anything to the imagination. Um, it kind of says what it is, explains everything about it, so you don't end up getting lost. Probably shows it has a map on the side all the time, and then that's all it has for each like entry or for each city, and the words are very straightforward. They're just describing what's happening. And for the good example, I have this song by Kendrick Lamar, which is Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, because it's a really, really strong song. Because it's about, like, the struggle of the black community and all those things. It's very, very strong. Specifically, there's this verse. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's the fourth one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the fifth one. The fifth stanza, which is kind of like the focus for me. And the subject's about this woman who was the sister of someone that Kendrick Lamar wrote a song about earlier. And it's about like prostitution and kind of that business and those things. And the sister was in that situation as well, but she didn't take it as nicely that like her sister was being put on blast because the sister died. And so the subject's really strong and it's coming from something that he knew about because it was him who knew who knew her sister, and she's the one who also knew her sister as a sister. So, it's very personal. And there are a bunch of leaps, especially at the end. Um, because at the end of the that verse and the song, like as she's talking, because he's speaking as the sister, the voice begins to fade away because she's talking about how she doesn't need to go check herself for a doctor. She's absolutely fine. Nothing's gonna happen to her. You know, um, that he's wasting his time basically talking about these struggles. And like she's saying things like "I'll never fade away" and "I'll never fade away," but then as she says that, his voice fades off into the next verse, implying that like she's dying of AIDS. And throughout the thing, she's like, "Yeah, I'll never die. I'm gonna get this bread. Nothing's gonna stop me." And all of that. Meanwhile, she's actively fading off, and I think it's like all kind of implied that she's dying of this illness, but they never said like, "Oh, it's specifically AIDS. Oh, it's full blown. Oh, she died in a month." It's just she faded away. Still like strapped onto her guns and still believing that everything was fine. And finally, for words, there's a lot of swearing, but I think it's fitting in comparison to the other verses. Yeah, because the first verse is about like Kendrick Lamar's personal friend who was older than him, and so there's just not that many swear words outside of the N word, but that's just because of the vernacular of the person he was talking to. But because in this verse with the lady, she's angry, there's a lot more swearing. It's a lot more aggressive, and kind of like pulls your attention to what she's talking about. Yeah. And then in the next one after that, like the tone shifts again, and how often he swears shifts again. because now it's him talking about himself, and he just doesn't want to swear as much because he's more reflective in that verse. I could send it to you if you want to see the lyrics, but it's the song I sing about me, I'm dying of thirst. And yeah. So that's my bad example, and that's my good example.